from the RTI guy, yeah.
Hello,
So the
hello.
tactical call to action is when you tell the audience specifically what you want them to do next. So one of the most common questions I get is, Nadine, do you work with individual schools on this? And the answer is yes. I come to your school and work with your kids on our program. And the next step for you is to fill out the postcard on your table and turn it in, and somebody from our office will contact you. That's a
So
tactical
this is
call
my
to
view
action.
of
You
the
tell them what
screen.
you want them to do
This is
and
the
how they
screen,
would
and
do
this
it.
is me.
Then the emotional call to action is to inspire them to do that. So that might be a story of, last year we started working with Joshua in a school, and when we got there, Joshua said, I'm bad at math. I'm third generation bad at math. But, we put him in our program with our fun games and our activities. And this year, Joshua won the Math Student of the Year award at his school, and he got a part-time job working for a local accountant in his community doing math. He now feels good about himself and good about his math future. It worked for Joshua. It can work for you. Let's work together and change the way STEM is done in our schools. So you have a tactical call to action. Fill out the card and we'll call you. And an emotional call to action. This is the power of possibility. Let's do it. That's the difference between the two. Every great presentation needs both.
I love that, dude. That's so good, guys. Like, that's for everybody, guys. Like the masterclass. Let's see some hearts. Who, if you haven't been called upon on a question, Sean Herbert on page 1. Let's go, Sean. My question is.
My question is, I'll start on my clarity question. I have a product that really shouldn't fix problems. I'm an alcohol manufacturer. So how do I create my clarity, or how do I answer my clarity questions with that?
Go ahead. Alcohol manufacturer is what you said.
Yeah.
And who do you sell to?
I sell to liquor stores. I've got 2 sales jobs. I got to sell to a liquor store, and I got to sell to the public to go to the liquor store to buy my product.
Okay.
How,
So
how's
PQ,
it
take
different?
that.
How's it
Go
different from other products?
We focus on premium products, and we're local. Like, we use all local local substrates.
Sure. So I think to the stores, the problem you solve for them is a product that moves, a product that gets the customer in the door and moves a good margin. And to consumers, most alcohol solves the problem of, either how you feel when you're drinking it, or how you feel when you're gathering with your friends, how you feel when you get together in that community. And so I think when you're talking about it, you got to talk about what separates it, why it's different from other things. And to a store owner, I would think about, what gets people in their store, because if you can increase their traffic, that's a problem that they have. If you can increase their margins, that's a problem that they can have. If you can increase the volume of product that moves through with as little shelf space as possible, those are all problems that they have and would make them give more shelf space to your product.
Yeah.
I think you have to look at it from the buyer's position. What are they thinking when they're buying the product? What makes them make that decision, and try to address that issue in your talk.
I love that. Thank you, Pat. Hey, thank you for that question. We're going to come back live here in a minute. Pat, we got to get caught up. We're at 11 questions. We promised 50.
Yep, I'm going to do 4 right now. I'm going to answer Steve Hamilton's, I'm going to answer Barbara Miller's, and I'm going to answer Lisa Goldberg, because they all have the same question, which is, I'm speaking to different audiences. Should I have different signature talks? Barbara asks, I have 3 different products. Do I need 3 different talks? Lisa asks, I have 2 different products. Do I need 2 different talks? Here's the rule on when you need a new talk. When you're solving a different problem. So you don't need a different talk when you're speaking to different audiences. I'm helping people with their communication. I can speak to health coaches about that. I can speak to financial advisors about that. I can speak to entrepreneurs about that. I can speak to employees about that. It's the same talk, because I'm solving the same problem. I can have multiple products around that. I can have an online course, I can have an event, I can have a coaching program. As long as I'm solving the same problem, I give the same talk. But when the problem that I solve changes, so if one of your products helps people with their skin care, and a different product that you have helps people with their weight loss, you're solving a totally different problem. Need a totally different talk. And so the rule of talks is different audiences, no problem. One talk. Different products, one talk. But when you solve a different problem, then you need a different talk. And then Victoria M asks, What's the structural difference between a 1-minute talk and a 45-minute talk? When the time changes, the structural difference is the content. And so we sometimes put accordion lines around the content because that's where the whole thing expands and contracts like an accordion. And so if you have a short talk, like 5 minutes, you might give your opening and your call to action and have no content. This gets shrunk down to 0. And then in a 45-minute talk, this is usually about 30 minutes of content. But in a 2-hour talk, this is about an hour and a half of content. The structural difference is always in the content. Less time, less content. More time, more content. All right, I did a 4 for 1 there, Pete. That should catch us up.
No, you did 5 there, bro, because you got 4 people's questions and you got a 5th one. So I'm going to go to 2 more and then we're going to come back live. Tina says, if I don't have a book and no credentials, can I still be a speaker? Here's the biggest misconception a lot of you think. I got to have a book. I got to have a big social media following. I got to have a podcast. I got to have this. I got to have that. Bullshiz. Okay? That's my different word. Bullshiz. That's not true. All you have to do is have one talk that can solve a problem for people. And you have to become good at that talk. That's it. So Tina Shin, I disagree with you. Kenny O, this is for a lot of people. What stages do you recommend for starters? For starters, Pat and I both love low stake practice. Go get on a small podcast or go get on a Facebook Live that has maybe 3 people who end up watching it. Go practice at the dinner table with your family. Like, go practice low stakes with the smaller crowd. And by the way, your talk does not change when you build one talk. It just gets better. So now the second time you can step it up and step it up and step it up. I love digital stages. I love digital stages. And so those are 2 questions I wanted to answer. Pat, as I green those out, you see 1 or 2 you can answer. And I know I said we'll go live, but you see any?
Yeah, Lena Munter says, can you give examples of what % you'd spend each time on in a signature talk? So sure, let's take a look at the 4 parts in a 45-minute talk. If you have a 45-minute talk, okay, we usually spend 5 minutes on the opening and 5 to 10 minutes on the closing, which gives us for content 30 minutes. Alina also asks, this is a second question, would you use the signature talk as a foundation for your webinar? Absolutely, I would. And if I had a 45-minute webinar, I'd spend 5 minutes on my opening, 5 to 10 minutes on my closing, and 30 minutes on my content. Now, if the amount of time shrinks, keep the same opening, keep the same closing, and shrink your content. If the amount of time grows, keep the same opening, keep the same closing, and grow your content as well. Ron Skillens asks, do you change your opening story to one that's more relatable? That's a great question. I would say 80% of the time we use the same opening story. But sometimes we do get, and I've seen Pete do this, sometimes Pete will get in front of a group of 100 health coaches. And he switches from his ordinary opening story, which is usually about his relationship with his dad and the first stages he saw. And he starts telling his health story. Why does he do that? Because the purpose of the opening story is to connect. And he's got 100 health coaches in the room. So yeah, he swaps out with a health story. I've seen Pete in front of 100 financial advisors switch his opening story to talk about the 2 or 3 people in his life who have really spoken into his finances. Why? Because the purpose is to connect. So the answer to your question, Ron, is absolutely you can swap out your opening story to connect better with the audience. It's a super smart thing to do, Pete.
I love it, Pat. Hey, I'm going to call 3 people live here. Let me see hearts. Walt on page 1, Walt Walgren, and then we're going to go with Gurprest and Olaya. They're all on the first page, Rhett. So let's go those 3. Guys, if y'all can pop live, we can do more live too. So Walt, Aaliyah, and I think I said Gurprest. I could have said it wrong. So Gurprest.
Hi guys, thanks for everything. Walt from San Francisco area, California. And how do you adjust your talk if you're dealing with a short to mid-length email?
Does that make sense to you, Pat?
Yeah, I mean the four-part StoryBraid framework works in an email. You connect in the beginning. Now might not be a story in an email. The connection might be why you're emailing them. Like I just sent out an introductory email this afternoon that was like, "Hey, the reason I'm emailing you is because my friend Amy told me you and I should get connected." Like that's the connection part. Then the content of the email should talk a little bit about how you could help them or help them in some way. And then the best emails and the most effective emails have a single call to action. I'd like to set up a time to talk to you. I think we can do great things together, or I look forward to having the opportunity to do things with you. So this format works in an email as well. I think you probably will teach less content, but a single call to action and how you got connected, followed by a little emotional inspiration at the end, is always going to serve you well. Great question, Walt.
Great question. Let's go to the next one, Rhett. I'm going to start calling 3 live. I don't remember Rhett. Hopefully, Rhett's my man. You remember him, Rhett, or do you need me to go back and look? Oh, look at Rhett. There we go. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
How do you say your name?
Gurpreet.
Gurpreet. What is your question, bud?
My question is, first of all, I'm from Irvine, California. I'm looking for investors for real estate. So my question is how to go ahead and best have your story take in like that emotional part of it, because I feel like a lot of times investors just want to see numbers. So how do you really emotionally connect with investors when you're trying to get real estate?
Yeah, so that's really easy for me. Like I've raised lots of money. I mean, lots of money for charities and for investing stuff. Like raise a lot of money. And what you say they want to see numbers. 30% of them want to see numbers. Grant's in that 30%. This is what people forget. 70% of people are right-brained. Grant, right-brained. Grant is left-brained. Grant wants to see the numbers, the wins, the analytics. So it's important to appeal to Grant. But 70% of people are right-brained. They're more emotional feeling. So we've designed the talk to appeal to both of those. And so that's why you have a tactical call to action and an emotional call to action. The tactical is to really help the tactical buyer think tactically. The emotional is to help the 70% who are more emotional buyers. So I want to get that out of the way. A lot of you are either leaving 70% on the table or 30% on the table because you only speak in your language. Now, on the front end, I would do it by saying, hey, listen, I freaking was running the rat race. I was making lots of money, like so many other people who are professionals. But I just found myself on this rat race. I had to start January 1 over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden, I began to understand the power of real estate. And as I started to invest in real estate, I started to see that, no, I'm not starting January 1 over and over again. I actually had passive income of like 3,000 and then 5,000 and 10,000. And I couldn't believe all of the other benefits that real estate was giving to me. So I just got the emotional and the tactical both in my story right out of the gates. And so what I want to show you, accredited investors, how you can use real estate to get out of the rat race. Or you're not going to say accredited investors. I'm telling you that. You're not going to say that. And so I'm going to show you the 4 things that real estate can do for you to get you out of the rat race. Number 1, passive income. Number 2, appreciation. Number 3, depreciation and taxes. Number 4, something else. And then I'm going to close with the tactical call to action. I'm giving you your whole dang talk right now, bro. This is worth $1 million to you. Hey, we've got a calculator at grantcardone.com/ I wish G was here right now because I could go send him to a call to action. But like, we got a calculator that you plug in your numbers and you can see at Cardone Capital what real estate could do for you if you simply invested $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year or $1 million a year. It shows you what you can do, and then you close. I told you my story on the front end, but the story I love more is Pat Quinn. He was a guy that, dude, he just had this money saved because he thought saving money was the right thing to do. And Pat started to understand that I could put my money in real estate. He heard this talk and he's like, I want to go do it, but I don't want to go try to figure all this out on my own. So Pat decided, I'm going to invest in Cardone Capital. And he started investing in Cardone Capital. And what began to happen is he just committed $100,000 a year. He did it for year 1. He did it for year 2. He did it for 3 years, and he did it for 5 years. And after 5 years, this happened to him, this happened to him, and this happened to him. So I gave the tactical call to action. A calculator is a tactical call to action. The story of Pat Quinn is an emotional call to action. By the way, what I just did for him, yeah, fire, guys, is you've got to reverse engineer that for you. Pat, what would you say to that? Because that's not just for him. That's for everybody that says, help me see how I could build a signature talk for myself. Like, what would you add to that, Pat? And then we'll go on to the next question. I'm sure that was fire, bro.
I think what you modeled was great there. And the point that you made right off the bat, which is you think that the person who teaches the most content will win. And they will win a small percentage of the audience. But it's the person who connects emotionally with the audience that's going to win the biggest. And the person who can do both, connect emotionally and teach great content, that's going to blow everybody else on that stage away.
Pat, we got one more live, and then you're going to go 3. We can do our pre-record or our submitted ones quicker than live. So let's go to the third one, Red. I think there's one more person I called upon. Who was that? I called
Lisa,
upon
but her video.
Olia on page 1. Olia, O-L-I-A.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm Olia. I'm in Sacramento, California, and I have a question regarding AI and using it to leverage your communication skills and your content. Do you think that it is something that should be included in your strategy?
Yeah, great question. I'll answer this one. Great question. Like, listen, you can go write a talk for GPT. They can write your talk, but it's not going to be a perfected. What it cannot do, what AI cannot do, is optimize a talk. It'll write something out. My son wrote something out for me. He gave me like a speech. It was meaningful. Or he wrote me a song and it was really meaningful. But I just think there's such a unique.
Brought to you by
I don't think AI right now, it could write a really good talk that would get you a standing ovation, but we're not about getting you a standing ovation. We're about getting you a standing ovation and getting you customers. A lot of you who are like, I'm already good at speaking, but I'm not getting customers. No, you're not good at speaking because you have a moral obligation to make sure people come into your world, because it's not your talk that will change their world. It's your products and services that change their world. You guys hear that? It's not your talk. Your talk is a catalyst to changing their world. Your products and services are actually what change their world, that help them, that serve them, that empower them. And so I do think it could be used. I just don't think it can be optimized to the way that you want it to be optimized. So it's a great little starting point for sure, but make sure you find a professional that can coach you and that can help optimize you. Because listen, I think about Daymond John, and we'll go to the get ready to go to the sheet, Pat. I think about Daymond John. Daymond John had a really good talk. And then me and Pat worked with him in downtown New York, and we got to take it to a whole nother level. Daymond went from a 10% conversion rate to a 60% conversion rate using what you guys learned through this module, guys. So PQ, let's go back to the board, and then we're going to come back over here.
All right, Edmundo Bravo and Armando Salcido and Brandon Irvin all have the same question about their opening story. Does the opening story have to align with all 3 of your content sections? Does the opening story have to align with the problem that you solve? Does the opening story have to relate to the product that you're selling? And the answer is no, it does not have to. But if it does, that's even better. So first of all, the opening story doesn't teach anything. The purpose is to connect, not teach. So it doesn't have to line up with your content. But it's great if it introduces the topic that you're going to talk about tonight. So if you're going to talk about finances, the best personal story up front somehow introduces the topic of finances. It shouldn't be completely related to just basketball. Now, could you connect with a basketball story? Sure. But I'd love for you to connect and introduce tonight's topic. Does it have to relate to the product you're selling? Only in as much as it introduces the problem you solve and the topic that you're going to talk tonight. So it doesn't have to teach anything. It doesn't have to show your products. All it has to do is introduce your topic that you're going to talk about. And then one more here, and then we'll throw it to you, Pete. Roya Javid says, I have some fear about doing webinars to promote my business. I don't have enough confidence about in front of the camera. And here's what I know about stage fright. Every time I feel nervous and afraid, all of the statements I'm making in my head are I statements. I might not look good on camera. I might not be liked by the audience. I might not know the answers to all their questions. I don't think people are going to like me. I. Consider the fact that there's someone out there who's struggling right now, and you have a solution to their problem. Consider the fact that stage fright is selfish. Because when you're afraid, all of your statements are I statements. And if you would turn those around and make you statements, you are struggling with a problem. You need help. You need someone to come alongside you and put their arm around you and show you a solution. Now I'm not so nervous anymore. Now I'm the guy with the solution. And you said right in your question, Roya, you said right in your question that you're confident in your expertise. What you're saying there is you're confident in your ability to help people. You just have too many I statements going on in your head because I might not look good on camera. So you don't need a fancy camera. All you need is more light in front of you than you have behind you and a background that's not distracting. You ask a bunch of questions, you ask questions about the camera, the lighting, and the background. That's not what's going to connect with people. A good story and you caring with your heart about them more than you care about yourself. That's what's going to put you right over the top here. Great question.
I love it, Pat. I'm going to go back here. You might want to get yourself ready, prep for the next sheet. So, and we'll come back live here in just a second, guys. Kristen Townsend asks, Grant speaks about a signature talk framework. It would be helpful to have a 60-second example. I just did that for you a second ago. I showed you exactly the opening heart, the content, the emotional call to action, and the closing call to action. So I want to make sure, Kristen, that you saw that along with everybody else that's on here. Alina Munter says, you say that the signature talk is new. Pat answered this, but I'm gonna put it in my phrase. You say that the signature talk is for new people to get to know you. What are you recommending for people that already have a warm audience? When you speak to an audience where the majority of them are new, guys, I'm gonna speak next week at GrowthCon, and there's gonna be people that have heard me, but yet my signature talk is gonna be pretty much the same. I'm gonna teach people 2 core things, but the majority of people have not heard me. So you want to bring new people into your world, have a signature talk. Once people are in your world, I love what a lot of our students do here at 10X Stages. They have a note card here and they have heart. I think about Jennifer Allwood. She still has this to this day. Head, hands, and heart. And it's like this, and it sits on her computer monitor. And anytime she goes live on her Facebook page, she just thinks about what's the one content piece that I want to teach them today. And then she comes up with an opening story. She comes up with her call to action. And then she comes up with her close. So she's given her signature talk to build her Facebook following. She's got all these women, and all of a sudden she now wants to say, I want to teach them around how do you balance work life with being a mom and a business owner. Maybe this is not her signature talk. So now all of a sudden that's her point. Now she's going to use the framework to build the new content that she delivers to people who already know her. The reason she has this on her computer screen and you can't even see it is it becomes the one-stop ultimate communication for all of you. Guys, that's fire if you will use it. You say, let me keep going here. Ron Skillens, you ask questions, my man, you get the answers. How many times should I deliver my signature talk a month to get it dialed in effectively? As many flipping times as you can. Grant and I were on about 40 stages each the last 30 days. As many as you can, and digital now allows you to be able to do that. A digital stage is no longer a stepchild after COVID. It is considered a normal stage. Can I have my personal talk be less than 30 minutes or less, is what Narinda Alisur asks. Once you have your signature talk dialed in, PQ, I could do it in a minute, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. You just got to have the framework. And like Pat said, you stretch. It's like an accordion with the content. That's what you do. So absolutely, you can have a 30-minute. But what happens when Grant Cardone says you've got 3 minutes, Esperanza, or 5 minutes? You better be ready to deliver that. If you're just starting a business, what Natalie Sperlich says, what social proof can be provided into the intro to get you on an OPS? I'm going to end with this one. You need social proof that what you're talking about, you have either seen. There's three ways of social proof. You've either done it for yourself, you've done it for other people, or sometimes you have to use third-party validation. Other people have seen this work. And you don't have to say you're connected with them, but you can use third-party validation of somebody else. So don't think you need social proof of being on stages. You just need social proof that you can solve a problem for somebody. That's it. PQ, I'm going to go live back here. Let me go to the first page because those are the folks who got their hands up first. Let me see some hearts. Who has not had a question? Amber, Hassan, and Larry on page 1. Larry Coates, Amber Utz, and Hassan. Those are my 3 I'm coming to live right now. And by the way, Pat, we've answered 31 questions just for the record. Let's go.
We're gonna pass.
No. Oh, 26 plus 5. Yep, 31. Dang it. I'm not going to cheat the system.
Lydia Perez says, I have no communication skills. How can I become a good communicator? Jen Hone says, I'm a terrible public speaker. Shirley says, I don't have a good approach to people. And there was one other one here. Rashana says, how do I get over my fear? And the answer to all of them starts up here with the fact that what you're doing, some of you, I can tell in your questions, you think that selling is bad. Like you think like what you're doing is tricking people. And you have to get out of that mindset and think about serving people. You have to think about the fact that when you solve problems for other people and when you offer them your product services, you're serving them. You're helping them by have you ever had a problem? Like my wife had foot pain for like a year, and then she went to one doctor who solved it, and it was like, oh, like when you solve a problem for someone else, what a great service you are doing for them. Second, you have to design a talk in the way that we're talking, connecting, helping, not being pushy, not being slimy, not being tricky, not using Jedi tricks. And then thirdly, you just have to practice in front of people. One of the questions is, Grant said things on Undercover Billionaire that I would never have the guts to say. Grant's been saying those things for 25 years. He was nervous in the beginning too, but he's done it so many times now he has confidence. The first time you give your talk is not going to be the best time you give your talk, but every time you give it, it gets better and you get more confident. If you've seen a really good speaker lately and you're like, wow, that blew me away, I can almost guarantee you did not see the first time that person spoke. Because the first time that person spoke, it was ugly. And the second time it was a little less ugly, and the third time it was a little less ugly. There is no replacement for repetition. Get out there and do it, even if it hurts, even if it's scary. Push through it because you're serving others. Pete?
Yeah, let's go to these live. We got a few live here, Pat.
Hey guys.
Hey there.
I am super excited to have this opportunity. So I have 2 questions, but I'm just going to focus on the first one. I did your recommendation with the Google search.
Good.
Obviously, I'm HVAC, own a company, and I had a hard time finding like local platforms and stages. And I really want to get out there. I could find stuff that was like nationwide or whatever, and
So who do you want to be in front of? Who's your ideal customer?
We do residential and commercial both, but realistically we're focusing more on residential and moving that direction. So homeowners, I would assume. So
Realtors then, because they sell homes.
Okay.
Yeah. So where do you live?
We're in Modesto, California.
Modesto, California. There's stages everywhere for you. There's stages everywhere. Like if I'm going to mute you right here, but like Pat, I got to once again be careful here because I got the PAG here for growth cons. Like all you got to do is,
I thought you were on it. You're on the far right tab.
I know, real estate.
We're gonna have to cut that from the recording.
Yeah, I didn't show it, did I, Rat?
No.
Like 0.2 seconds.
Oh, was it up there?
Oh, that was the questions. That was the questions.
That
Good.
was not.
Yeah,
That was
real
not
estate
me.
events in Modesto. I mean, it's not, or I would just say, here we go. Let's go look for realtor. This is for any of you that are looking for stages, realtor associations. Okay, I'm gonna go to the National Association of Realtors. I'm just looking at one right now, by the way. And I'm gonna go, where am I gonna go here, Pat? Let's go look at, where am I gonna find all the state chapters, PQ? Where do you think I'll find those? Let me see here. So what you're going to find on here is a map of all of the state chapters, and what you're going to be able to find. I probably shouldn't do this. This is probably not the best use of the time, so I'm actually going to stop it. But like, if I went there, all you're going to do is look for all of the state chapters. And under the state chapters, they're all going to have local chapters. And you're going to see 6 or 7 local chapters within a driving distance from you, right from that one website, where they have meetings every single month. And by the way, that's one realtor association. Go take anybody, go take builders associations, go take homeowners, anything where there's a lot of homeowners. Like I promise you, they're everywhere. Like you gotta trust that. You gotta do a little bit more work on it. I had somebody one time tell me, I can't find this stage. I've been looking, and I recorded the 17-minute call for her. She told me, I can't find this type of stage. And 17 minutes later, I found 1,000 stages for her. 1,000 stages for her. Rhett, make a note. I'm going to get that live recording of that Zoom of me finding 1,000 stages in 17 minutes, and I'll add it as like an additional worksheet to the communication course of how to